Oh, hey there. It's Michael, and I'm just out here having a drink at the horse trough, just making sure the water tastes okay for all the horses. So, yeah. So I hope you guys are excited for week 2 of Respect. Remember, respect is showing others they are valuable by how you treat them. And I hope you guys had excellent stories of how you practiced some respect this week. Well, maybe you're wondering, Michael, why are you drinking from the horse trough? Well, you know what? There was a guy in our story named Nehemiah who his job was all about drinking before the king. Why don't we take a look and see what that has to do with respect? So we're talking about respect. And what is respect? Respect is showing others they are valuable by how you treat them. Say that with me. Respect is showing others they are valuable by how you treat them. And you may be wondering, what on earth does this have to do with us and with me taking a drink from the horse trough? Well, our story is found in the book of Nehemiah. Now, is Nehemiah in the Old Testament or the New Testament? You're right, it is in the Old Testament, and it's kind of a tricky book to find because it's towards the back half of the Old Testament. So you can almost open your Bible in the middle, and then you're going to turn to the right a little bit and you'll find the book of Nehemiah. Well, it's found in Nehemiah chapter 2. And before I explain a little bit more of this story, there's something that you should know about Nehemiah. He had a crazy job, a very important job. You see, his job was to drink everything that the king was supposed to drink before the king had a chance to drink it. So he would take a drink of any of his drinks that were offered to the king. And the reason why this was is because they wanted to make sure that the king was safe and that no one was poisoning his drinks. So Nehemiah was a very respected, very honored individual and very trustworthy. He had earned the king's respect big time, and because of that, he was placed in a position of authority, and he had to be trusted. So anything the king was going to drink, Nehemiah had to test it first. Kind of a crazy thing, right? So just think, Nehemiah showed enough respect to the king that he would be willing to risk his life for them. Sounds kind of like he's already practicing a lot of respect, which is showing others they are valuable by how you treat them. Well, anyway, in Nehemiah, in the book of Nehemiah, chapter 2, that's where this story begins. And Nehemiah came to King Artaxerxes. That's a fun name, right? King Artaxerxes, and he brought him his wine. But this time, when Nehemiah brought his wine to him, he was very, very sad, and he let it show. And the king noticed, he said, "Are you sick?" And Nehemiah said, "No." He goes, "Then you must be very deeply saddened." And Nehemiah took a breath and said a little prayer and asked God for wisdom. And then he told King Artaxerxes that he was sad for his people and for Jerusalem because they had buried his people and they had burnt the entire city of Jerusalem. And he was devastated. And so he wanted to do something to take care of this. And that's where this story gets really interesting. So Nehemiah is standing there. He's just told King Artaxerxes about why he's devastated, that he is upset because the city of Jerusalem has been burned and his people there are buried. And he takes a breath, says another prayer, and he said, "King Artaxerxes, if it pleases you, please send me to Judah to rebuild the city of Jerusalem." So King Artaxerxes is sitting next to the queen, and he takes a look at her, then looks back at Nehemiah, and he says, "How long will your journey take?" And he thought for a minute, and then he decided to send Nehemiah to Jerusalem to rebuild the city. He was so pleased and had so much respect for Nehemiah, he decided to let him go on his journey. But there's a little bit more. So Nehemiah got permission from King Artaxerxes to go on this journey. And then he asked King Artaxerxes, if it pleases you, please let me send letters to the people west of the Euphrates because I need help traveling through there to stay safe. And the king granted that. And then he said, and if it pleases you, can we please send letters to Asaph, he has lumber, lots of logs that he would like to use, that Nehemiah would like to use in building the temple and in the gates, and even use the timbers in building his own house. And God showed favor on him. And King Artaxerxes granted everything that he had requested, and Nehemiah was able to go on his journey and work on rebuilding the city of Jerusalem. Kind of crazy, right? So it makes me have to stop and wonder, how did Nehemiah show respect in this story? Who did he show respect to? Why don't you take a minute and talk about that? Because we can show respect to others who are in authority over us. Take a minute and talk about that and see how this played out in Nehemiah's story. Great job, guys. Nehemiah showed respect to those in authority over him. King Artaxerxes, God, and because of that, they showed respect in return, and he was able to go and rebuild the city of Jerusalem. Pretty cool, huh? So now I have to ask, have you ever been in a situation like Nehemiah, where maybe you had to show respect to somebody who was in authority over you, or maybe somebody showed respect when you were in authority over them? Take a minute and talk to your Wrangler and see if you can come up with some cool stories of how you've shown respect to people in authority over you. Good work, guys. So now, anytime you guys take a drink this week, whether that's a pop or water or whatever it is, I want you to be thinking about this story of Nehemiah and how you can be showing respect to those in authority over you. Hope you guys are ready to put this into practice, and we'll see you guys back here next week to learn more about respect. And what is respect? Showing others they are valuable by how you treat them. See you next week.